We've all heard those whispers, haven't we? You know, the early risers club.
Oh, yeah, the Tim Cooks, the Michelle Obamas.
Exactly. They're supposedly crushing their to-do lists while, well, the rest of us are maybe hitting snooze for the third time.
It really makes you wonder, though, is getting up at 5 a.m. like a genuine advantage? Or is it just more productivity hype?
That's the big question, right? What could that extra super quiet time actually do for you personally?
It's easy to be a bit skeptical about those, high-profile success stories, but things get really interesting when an everyday person decides to just jump in.
Totally. And that's exactly what we're digging into today. We've got this really detailed account from someone who actually committed 5 a.m. for a whole 30 days.
Right, so this isn't theory. It's someone's lived experience. What actually happened?
Exactly. So our mission here in this deep dive is to pull out the key transformations, the real benefits they found, and figure out if this habit could genuinely help you with your own goals, your well-being.
And it's so important to stress, like you said, it's not just waking up early. The headline might be 5 a.m., but the real story is what happens next. How is that time used?
Yeah, how you use it intentionally. This personal story gives us a kind of front row seat to that whole process.
Okay, let's get into it then. Week 1.
Right. So they set the alarm, 5 a.m., and those first few days were, well, let's just say not blissful.
Huh. I can imagine.
Yeah, in their own words, quote, "Let's be real, the first few mornings sucked."
Refreshing honesty. It highlights that big changes like this, they take real effort. Your body's used to its rhythm.
Totally. That circadian rhythm doesn't just flip overnight, it's a push.
Hmm.
But what's fascinating is, even with that struggle, right from the get-go, they focused on structuring that time. It wasn't just about being awake.
Which is the crucial bit, isn't it? Waking up early with no plan.
Yeah.
That's just being tired earlier.
Right, like having a blank canvas and zero idea what to paint. So this person, they were smart, set up a routine immediately.
Okay, so what did that first week's routine actually look like?
It was pretty focused. 3 main things. 10 minutes of stretching, just gentle movement.
Okay, getting the body going.
Then 20 minutes of journaling, specifically focusing on gratitude and setting goals, getting mentally clear.
Nice. Addressing the mental side, too.
And finally, 30 minutes of reading. They actually read James Clear's Atomic Habits.
Whoa, interesting choice. Very relevant. So stretching, journaling, reading, all quite intentional activities.
Exactly. Kind of designed for calm, focus, and growth, wouldn't you say? Physical, mental, intellectual stimulation.
Yeah, sounds like a solid foundation. So how quickly did they feel any payoff for those grumpy mornings?
Surprisingly fast, actually. Within just 3 days, they reported feeling like their mind was significantly quieter, more focused.
Wow, 3 days. That's quick for such a big shift.
It really is. It just shows the power of carving out that quiet time before the day's chaos kicks in, you know?
That undisturbed space really allows for a different kind of thinking, doesn't it? Deeper processing.
Okay, so fast forward, weeks 2 and 3. The tone starts to change quite a bit.
Okay, how so? Less sucking.
Yeah, less sucking. That initial dread started to fade, and waking up at 5 a.m. actually became, and I love this phrase, kind of exciting.
Interesting. From dread to exciting, what do you think caused that shift?
Well, I think, like you mentioned with Atomic Habits, maybe the habit loop started solidifying. The trigger, routine, reward cycle.
That makes sense. The consistency pays off.
Yeah.
And they're feeling the benefits now, that focus, that sense of accomplishment, it feeds itself.
Yeah, it becomes reinforcing. And they shared this relatable example, too, thinking about colleagues, maybe in a busy place like New York City.
Right. Picturing the typical morning rush.
Exactly. The frantic getting ready, the stressful commute.
Right.
While they had already meditated, planned their day, read, even prepped a healthy breakfast.
That feeling of being ahead of the game, that's powerful.
Totally. It's a shift, as they put it, from playing catch-up all day
To playing offense. Setting the tone yourself instead of just reacting.
Yeah. That sense of control must be huge, especially if you're a busy professional feeling pulled in a million directions.
Absolutely. It's about reclaiming agency over your own schedule, your own day.
Okay, so then week 4, the final week of the experiment. And something else emerged, something unexpected.
Oh, what was that?
Creative breakthroughs.
Really? Like actual ideas popping up?
Yeah, ideas for work projects, you know, those side hustles that always seem to get pushed aside. These quiet morning hours suddenly became fertile ground for that stuff.
That's fascinating. It wasn't even the main goal, right? Just a byproduct.
Exactly. It just highlights what happens when you create that mental space, when your mind isn't just reacting to emails and urgent tasks.
There's room for quieter connections, insights. A different mode of thinking can kind of bloom in that stillness.
But, and this is super important, the account also brings up the other side of the coin, something often missed in the whole rise and grind narrative.
Okay, what's that?
The absolutely critical role of evening habits and prioritizing sleep.
Ah, yes, the sustainability factor.
Right. They specifically mention needing to ditch things like, quote, 1 a.m. Netflix binges.
Makes sense. You can't cheat sleep indefinitely and expect to feel good at 5 a.m.
No way. These morning benefits are great, but our experimenter found out pretty quickly that making it stick means protecting the other end of the day, too.
It becomes a cycle, doesn't it? Good sleep enables the early wake-up. The productive morning reinforces the need for good sleep. Sleep becomes the foundation.
Exactly. They said sleep became a foundation, not an afterthought. I like that framing.
Me too. It's essential, not optional, for this to work long-term.
So this all leads to what they identified as the core transformation. It wasn't just about habit building or finding an extra hour. It was bigger. It was about building a, quote, new identity.
Okay, unpack that. What does new identity mean in this context?
Well, it seems to be about those deeper shifts, how you see yourself, how you operate, the consistent act of getting up, doing the routine. It fostered this real sense of intentionality.
Right, consciously choosing how to start the day, aligning actions with priorities.
Exactly. And that led to feeling more energized because you're proactive, not reactive.
Makes sense. Less drained from constantly putting out fires.
And then that consistency, that follow through, it built confidence, like proving to yourself, hey, I can set a hard goal and actually do it.
So more intentional, more energized, more consistent, more confident. Those are pretty significant personal changes from just shifting your wake-up time.
It really is more than just time management, isn't it? It's about taking ownership. The key insight, they said, wasn't about getting more time, but gaining control over the time you have.
Precisely. And for anyone listening, especially busy professionals juggling so much, that feeling of being in control of your time instead of time controlling you, that can be absolutely transformative.
Yeah, creating that dedicated space for you, for your own stuff, before the world starts demanding things.
Exactly. Before the urgent drowns out the important.
So for you listening right now, if you ever feel like you're constantly playing catch up, maybe your focus feels scattered, or you're just not making headway on those big personal goals.
This 30-day story makes a pretty compelling case, doesn't it? That maybe, just maybe, this 5 a.m. thing could be a game changer.
Definitely worth considering, but let's be real. Like our source set up front, it's not going to be easy.
No, significant change rarely is, right? There will be mornings when that alarm feels like your worst enemy.
Oh, for sure. But the key takeaway from the account seems to be consistency over perfection.
Absolutely. Don't beat yourself up if you miss a day. Just get back to it.
Yeah.
Showing up regularly over time is what makes the real difference.
And if you are feeling inspired, maybe thinking, maybe I should try this, our source actually gave some really practical, actionable tips to get started.
Oh, good. Let's hear them. Practical advice is always useful.
Okay, first, think about using a sunrise alarm clock, the kind that wakes you up gradually with light.
Right, mimics a natural sunrise. Supposed to be a gentler way to wake up than a sudden loud beep, 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 beep.
Exactly, less jarring. Second tip, ease into it. Don't just jump from 8 a.m. to 5 a.m. overnight.
Makes sense. Too much of a shock.
Yeah, maybe start with 6 a.m., then maybe shift 15 minutes earlier each week. A gentler adjustment for your body clock.
Gradual adaptation lets your system catch up more comfortably. Good tip.
Third, make hitting the sack by 10 p.m. non-negotiable.
Back to the sleep foundation. You absolutely have to prioritize it.
Yeah. It underlines that connection. You can't sustain the early morning without the early night.
So true. What's next?
Fourth, plan your morning routine in advance. Don't just wake up early and then wonder, okay, now what?
Avoiding decision fatigue first thing.
Yes.
Have a clear plan so you actually use the time well.
Exactly. Know what you're going to do with those valuable quiet minutes. And finally, number 5, consider using a tracking app, something like Streaks or Habitica.
Oh, like for habit tracking. Adds accountability.
Yeah, track your progress, see the streak building. It adds that little bit of motivation, that visual proof you're doing it.
Gamification can be surprisingly effective for sticking with habits. Seeing that chain grow,
Yeah,
you don't want to break it.
for sure. So, wrapping this up, this deep dive into one person's 30-day 5 a.m. journey, it really shows it's not some mystical secret only available to CEOs.
No, it seems like a potentially powerful, practical tool. A way to gain focus, get control, maybe boost productivity.
Definitely has hurdles, especially at the start, but those reported benefits, clarity, energy, even creativity, they sound pretty appealing.
And it really drives home that idea, doesn't it? That big growth often comes from small, consistent, intentional actions,
Yeah.
not necessarily giant leaps.
So true. Okay, here's a final thought for you listening. Just think about one thing from this experiment that maybe sparked something for you.
Yeah. Maybe it's the journaling for reflection.
Or that idea of focused work before distractions hit. Or maybe it's just getting serious about prioritizing sleep.
Right, just pick one element.
And consider, how might applying just that one thing consistently start to reshape your day, your approach to your goals?
What small step, taken regularly, could unlock a bigger shift for you? Something to think